my doctor didn't really approve it, so let's no one tell him, okay?
Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this. Oh, this is good. This is good form. With a bung knee, as we say.
Look, a couple more years of practice, you might make the Olympic team in LA in 2028.
Well, Rennae gave me like some tips, but I don't know. Rennae, you promised me you're going to give me a lesson. I'm still waiting on that. So.
Hey, I'll come down to Miami anytime, my friend. All right, everyone, welcome to the French Connection. Once again, brought to you by NBC Sports and Racket. We are here to cover the tennis, not only from the French Open, right through, of course, back to Paris for the Olympic Games at Roland Garros. We're so excited to bring it to you and all the tennis in between. But before we get to that, of course, it is me, Rennae Stubbs, alongside that guy. Where is he? That side, Sam Querrey. And we have the one and only, one of the greatest skiers that has ever skied down a hill. And of course, I'm going to say it, the greatest downhill skier of all time, Lindsey Vonn. Thanks for joining us today, Linz.
Thanks, Rennae. Thanks for having me. Hey, Sam.
How's it going?
All right, Linz, we're going to get into this because we know that you love tennis as much as anybody that I've ever met. You play tennis way more than I do, and certainly more than pickleball Sam plays. So that in and of itself is pretty amazing. But why tennis? What do you love about the sport of tennis?
I always grew up watching it. My dad always had Agassi on the weekends, Pete Sampras. I was always drawn to the sport. I think my dad really wanted me to be a tennis player, but he claimed that I was horrible. But granted, he did make me try at like 2 years old. So, I think he should have given me a couple more chances. But I just love the mental strength it takes to be a tennis player. Obviously you need to be incredibly talented and you need to have all the skills, but I love being able to see the athlete's emotion. It's unlike any other sport. It's not like football where you really can't see anyone's face. In tennis, you see everything the athlete is going through. And I love it.
All right. So who's your favorite player? I mean, I kind of have an idea about this, but who's your favorite player?
I mean, I don't think it's a secret. I mean, minus like Sam, obviously, it would be Roger.
I think Roger's everyone's favorite player. Who's your Who's your second favorite player?
Okay, that's a really good question. It would be Jannik. Jannik and I have become pretty good friends, and we went skiing together last year, which is shocking because normally active athletes don't ski. I actually was pretty nervous. I don't want to be responsible for anything that happens, but yeah, he's a great guy, and I'm really excited for him to be number one now. Disappointed that Novak had to retire from his match, but still, Jan being number one is pretty exciting.
Yeah, very much so. Listen, I confess, I skied through my whole tennis career. I always thought, this is really not the smartest, although you'll be proud of me, Lenz. I just stayed to the groom run. So I ski fast, but I'm terrible on bumps, and I do not go in the trees unless someone forces me. So because I didn't want to hurt myself, but Jannik is an incredible skier. He's 5 billion times better than me. So I'll let him go on the slopes. But what about skiing and tennis? I mean, you sort of touched upon the fact that the emotional side of tennis, and we talked about this last year at Wimbledon. Tell me some of the things about tennis that you would actually that are easier or harder when it comes to tennis and skiing, and what you like about them both individually?
Well, I mean, I think, tennis, when you're talking about the risk of, being down a set point, or, you have all of these, high pressure situations, the ramifications of not doing it well are you just lose the point, you lose the match, and Jannik and I have talked about that. It's not like if you make a mistake, you're going to hurt yourself. You're not going to be in the fences. There's no physical harm that will come to you. So I think that's the biggest difference. But I love that, tennis is a very fast chess game, and it's very similar in skiing. You have to have a plan, but also be able to make split-second decisions. I don't know. There's so many things that are similar that I love about it. But yeah, the stakes are a little bit higher physically on the skiing side.
Here's the question. Now, we're talking about the similarities. A match point in tennis, you've been at a ton of tennis matches. You know how quiet it is in the stadium. When you're at the starting gate for a final run for an Olympic gold, what's a quieter moment? That or the match point of a tennis match?
Definitely tennis match. It's it's really weird in skiing because there's a lot of people actually yelling at you and cheering you on, but sometimes yelling at you. In the starting gate, especially at the Olympics or World Championships, people are standing right next to you. It's not like, in a tennis stadium, you have quite a big distance between you and the fans. In ski racing, someone could actually be standing 5 feet away from you. And it can be a little bit distracting. I love the energy of fans, of people. I would love to be competing in a stadium. I love that kind of energy. It really motivates me. But I think the silence it's really interesting, on those really high pressure moments. And again, that's why I love it. There's so much intense focus on this one moment. And I always love Roger because no matter, if he had a match point or not, he would come up with an ace, or, I never counted him out no matter how hard the odds were stacked against him, which is, just made him so exciting to watch, among other things. Yeah, it's a lot different in skiing. And also there's just not as many people watching.
Yeah, that's interesting. You hear the hop, 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 when you're skiing and people are like yelling and screaming at you. But it's interesting that you talk about being in the gate, how it can be distracting. And do you feel like and you don't have time to be like, hey, bro, can you just keep it down for a second? I'm trying to concentrate here. But I want to know, you skied with Roger just pretty recently during the winter. Give me your thoughts on his downhill skiing ability and tips that you gave him and et cetera. I mean, he did post something today about taking up golf. So, now he's really getting into the casual sports.
He's really crushing life right now. Let's be honest. I think we would all love to have Roger's life. He's clearly great at everything he does. His golf game looks impeccable, but his skiing was really good. I mean, I think we need a little bit more time on the slopes together to sort out some technical kinks. I need to change his equipment for one, but he was so loose. He was out there having fun. He, was getting in his tuck. He really enjoyed himself. And I was really impressed with his kids skiing. They all 4 of them were just ripping around, and Mirra too. They were really good. And I think ski racing and skiing in general is just a fun family sport. And the fact that I was able to join the whole family and do it together with them was really special.
Where is that? What mountain range is that? Are you in Europe there, or is that?
Yeah, we're in Switzerland.
Switzerland. All right.
Of course. Of course. You guys didn't have a gold star, like, right up the chairlift, like, security all around you and all that sort of stuff. And
I was actually really surprised by that. I thought that people would recognize him and, bother him or maybe me, but everyone was really respectful. He was waiting in line with his family. No one bothered him. I mean, the lines were really long. There was a lot of people. I was also worried that someone was going to hit him. So I felt like I was playing, keep away and trying to make sure no one touched Roger.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have a favorite casual mountain somewhere around the world that you like to ski?
I've been around the world racing, but I haven't really casually skied very many places. I would have to say Val d'Isère in France is amazing. Or St. Moritz. I love St. Moritz. There's a lot of places that I really enjoy skiing, but I have to actually go casually skiing in more places before I could give you a better answer.
Lindsey, you can stay away from Australia. Those mountains are not
I've been there.
They're not long enough for you. You'd be down that mountain in like 3 seconds.
I was, yes, I did. I was
go.
16 and I never went back.
For good reason, but we've got great beaches. But interestingly today, we saw Sabalenka. I know that you've been watching the tennis. I know that you get up early. You're into it as much as anyone else. But just take me through what she was going through today. Clearly, we could see that she was struggling physically. Something, either nauseous or whatever was going on with her. I want to know a story from you. We kind of touched upon it already today. But tell me a story where you had to actually go into a start gate or a day where you did not feel good and how you dealt with that.
Well, yeah, I was disappointed that she lost. I mean, I always want to see a fair match. Both opponents are, healthy. Obviously, that's not always the case. And that was hard to see today. I don't know what she was going through. Like you said, maybe it was nausea. It seemed like she was out of breath and just low on energy. But I definitely have had many situations where I've been sick. There was one really bad time I had food poisoning. I was in Croatia. I was hugging the toilet rim, just letting it all out. And I missed the caravan to the mountain. So I had to scramble to find a ride. I finally made it up there. I had missed inspection. So everyone gets one chance to look at the course. I missed it. I literally rolled straight in, puked right before I started, and then went. I don't remember how I did, which means it probably wasn't very good. But I tried. I hate missing races. I think every athlete wants to always put their best foot forward, and even if you're not feeling well, you want to get out there and try. And I give Sabalenka a lot for just going out there and giving it her best shot. And it was definitely her mental strength showed through today. I mean, I know physically it let her down, but mentally she was very tough. And again, disappointed to see her lose, but it was a really fun match, and the next round's going to be great.
Sure, going to be interesting to see Paolini. It's not a semifinal that Sam and I would have guessed, seeing Paolini, who, by the way, I can say this out loud because I've said it on my podcast, is my favorite tennis player to watch. She is
really,
she's literally this big, and she plays like she's 7 feet tall. She smiles all the time. She's the happiest person to be around on the court, and I'm so delighted to see her actually be doing as well. And she's had the same coach, and Sam and Lindsey, you can both appreciate this, forever. And so they've gone through the ups and downs. So I'm actually excited to sort of see this semi. It's not one we expected. But Sam, real quick, before we get to the next question, have you ever puked on a tennis court or before a match?
No. Well, I mean, I guess maybe hours before or days before, but I was going to say sometimes as an athlete, if you get sick or you have an injury, sometimes it helps you on the court. It's like it's all you're focused on. You're not focused on external things. And I've played great tennis matches. I don't know about you, Rennae, or you, Lindsey, like skiing. I've played great tennis matches before when I've been partially sick or injured, because I'm just all right, play this point and focus on nothing else. Sometimes it can be beneficial.
Yeah. Anyway, so what's the best match, Linz, that you've seen so far at the French? I know you can't watch every match unless you're up at 4 a.m. because you're in Miami, but any matches that you've just absolutely loved to watch so far?
I love the Iga Osaka match. That was definitely my favorite so far. I thought the level of play was amazing. And
look at that tweet there from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been an amazing final or semifinal. Osaka, I haven't seen her play like that in a long time. And she was really swinging for the fences. She obviously made a couple of more errors than Iga, but it was really fun to watch her, play at that level again. I mean, I know she's had a baby, and I just think that in and of itself is so impressive. So I love that match. I thought it was amazing.
Who are you picking? Men's, women? Men's, women. Men's champion, women's champion. You gotta go one of each.
I mean, I really wish that the Carlos Jannik match was a final. I really hate that it's always a semifinal or a quarterfinal. I always want to see them in a final. I'm going to go with Jan. I hope that he can kind of win this and, be number one. And I think that would be a great ending to the last couple of weeks. But on the women's side, I'm a big fan of Iga. We're good friends. So I'm going to go Iga all the way.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Although, I don't know, Casper Ruud might have something to say. He's made the finals a couple of times. He's had that guy called Rafa stop him a few times, and Novak. But it's going to be interesting. Zverev, of course, coming in, playing very, very well as too. But yeah, you're right. It would kind of be nice to see those guys playing a final for once instead of a semi.
That's what we all want.
Yeah, it's what we all want.
We need the ATP gods to kind of just always.
We just realign.
I know, it was interesting. Somebody tweeted at me the other day, why is Iga playing the number 3 player and not the number 4 player? And you could say the same thing with this situation. In tennis, the 1 is at the top, 2 is down the bottom, and 3 and 4 get pulled out of a hat, depending on what side they go up or down. So for people at home that don't know that rule, that's how it works.
Whoever's pulling the names out of the hat needs to do a better job.
Listen, Sam and I know, I don't know if Sam did it, but putting your hand in there and actually doing a draw is stressful because you're like,
It's exciting though. It's like gambling. When's my name going to be pulled out?
Yeah, you never wanted to do it. You're always asked to do it, and you're like, I don't want to do the draw. All right, Linz, let's take you inside the Olympic Village. We know that the Olympics in Paris. First of all, are you going to go to Paris and watch?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, good. I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there a moment, Linz, in your time at the Olympics where you have been starstruck at the Olympic Games?
I mean, pretty much every moment of every Olympics is amazing. And I always meet someone that I wouldn't expect. I think, for me as a Winter Olympian, going to the Summer Olympics is always really special because I meet people that I normally wouldn't meet or, maybe haven't met yet. The London Olympics, I met Kobe Bryant for the first time, and that was really special. So I think that was probably my coolest moment at any Olympics, I'd say, was meeting him and spending time with him.
Do you have a favorite Summer Olympic sport to watch?
Gymnastics, obviously.
Wow, look at that. I mean, you were like, bam.
Listen, let's be real. I love tennis, and I will always love tennis, but no one really watches gymnastics outside of the Olympics. So
you get plenty of tennis the 3.5 years.
I get my fill of tennis every Grand Slam or every ATP 1000. So, I'm going to go for gymnastics. And I'm so excited to watch Simone. I think she's going to be just absolutely crush everyone, which is going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, what a story to have her back. With the potential of what we saw in the last Olympics, for her to come back is pretty amazing. As you, as a great athlete, would know, it's not that easy just to put the skis back on and do what she's doing and on a beam this big. All right, so where are your Olympic medals, my friend?
Oh, well, 2 of them are in my sock drawer, and one of them is hanging up next to my Backstreet Boys poster.
We were hoping you were just going to have like a desk in your drawer right where you're at right now. You're going to hold a couple
just
up.
Pull it right out. Right? No, and the only reason I have the one hung up is because my friend surprised me with it. Otherwise, it'd probably still be in my sock drawer.
Oh, that's cute. I have a funny story about Sue Bird. I was at her house in Seattle, not to name drop, but I was at her apartment and we played a drinking game. This is a true story. And the flip cup game? So we were playing the flip cup, and she was on my team and we won. There was like 5 of us on one side, 5 of us on the other. And we won. And she was so funny. She turned around and grabbed all of her 5 gold medals and started putting on all her teammates. And I thought, who has their gold medals just hanging in the kitchen? So there you go. Yours is in the sock.
5 gold medals? That's a lot.
Some people have their medals like out and proud. Some people kind of have them tucked away, like Lindsey's saying. It's just like everyone's got a different kind of mentality as far as like, where do you display your Olympic medals, your trophies?
No, there you go.
I mean, I have my trophies lined up. They look really nice, but the Olympic medals, I don't know. They're kind of my special thing.
Where are yours, Sam? Where are your trophies?
I was going to say I have no Olympic medals, but trophies. I've got some kind of like in the family room up. There's a couple like upstairs, but I kind of just spread out everywhere. I don't have that many. I don't have as many as you guys.
Yeah. Well, mine are sort of tucked around all over the place, but not out and about. It's really interesting.
What's that? Is that a trophy?
That's a joke. That's my French. Well, it's not a joke. That's terrible. I shouldn't have said that. That is my runner-up trophy. I have 2 runner-up loser trophies from the French. So I displayed my loser trophies because one of our first guests, Mary Carrillo, was the winner of the mixed doubles, and I told her she has that over me because I was just a loser there. And there it is.
Well, Mary is great, so it's okay to be first loser to her. So.
She is. Yeah. All right, Linz, we so appreciate you being on the show today. Just real quick, you are going to Paris, the Olympics. Where are you going to be seen the most?
Ooh, I mean, again, gymnastics. I really want to do the beach volleyball. I think that's underneath Eiffel Tower. I want to kind of do all of the really scenic events. I have to see the layout of where everything is, but definitely gymnastics. And I'm really excited about the opening ceremonies.
Yes, along the canal, apparently.
It's going to be amazing.
All right. Well, Linz, we really appreciate you not only joining us today talking about tennis. We know I can attest you are a huge tennis fan. Wait a second. Quickly, show me your video of you playing tennis today or yesterday or whatever it was before your knee surgery, because you've had reconstructive knee surgery. Show us. Give it to us.
Well, my doctor didn't really approve it, so let's no one tell him, okay?
Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this.
Look
Oh,
at
this
that
is good.
form.
This is good form. With a bung knee, as we say.
Look, a couple more years of practice, you might make the Olympic team in LA in 2028.
Yeah,
So-
right.
Or no, 20,
Look at this.
Yeah, 2026. When's it in LA? 23rd.
Well, Rennae gave me like some tips, but I don't know. Rennae, you promised me you're going to give me a lesson. I'm still waiting on that. So,
Hey, I'll come down to Miami anytime, my friend. Anytime.
all right. Well,
Skiing
I'm
lesson,
holding to
tennis lesson. Yeah. We do send each other videos of our different sports, and we do critique, which she did of my skiing,
Yes.
which I appreciate. Anyway, all right, Linz, we love you. Thanks so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you in Paris. And a reminder that the US Olympic and Paralympic team trials kick off June 15th. I cannot wait to see them get into action, all of them trying to make the Olympic team. The best athletes in the country seek, as I said, to join and make the toughest team in the world ahead of the Paris Games. We cannot wait and catch the action on NBC Peacock. Then the Paris Olympics, of course, begins July 26th. Just give me your thoughts on Novak having to pull out as just detrimental not only to the tournament, but of course for his, going forward. This is not a great injury to have at this time of the year.
No, it's a brutal injury for Novak and a brutal injury for the tennis community. No one wants to see him pull out of the French Open, especially at a quarterfinal stage like this. He's battled the two previous matches in 5 sets, which has been an incredible effort from him. But, a meniscus tear like this, I think that's what it is. It's a minor injury. It's going to put him out 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. I'd be shocked to see him at Wimbledon. Hopefully we get him back in time for the Olympics in Paris.
Yeah, I have to say I've had my 2 of my knees surgically repaired by a meniscus. And one, I came back 6 weeks later, but I was only just playing doubles. And I felt like 6 weeks was probably a week or 2 too soon. So I imagine if he's gone into immediate surgery to have a meniscus, you can play with a meniscus tear. It's just that how bad is it? Because I saw him point to the back of his knee when he was having issues with it and had the trainer come out. And I actually said to a friend of mine, I was like, that kind of looks like meniscus. I was totally guessing. But when they said meniscus, so there's no question he won't be able to play Wimbledon unless he decides not to have the surgery. Because you can't. I played for about 2-3 months with a meniscus tear. It just depends on how bad it is. But if he wants to win a Grand Slam, there's no way that he can do that with a slight meniscus tear. So if that's the case, 6 weeks, my guess minimally, although he is into the woo-woo, he does all the stuff, maybe he can recover a little bit quicker. Like, what was that quarterback's name that came back from the Achilles quickly? Anyway, Aaron Rodgers, I'm kidding. But anyway, so I think, Novak certainly has the capability of maybe coming back a bit earlier than most, but that is a rough injury to have for him.
Yeah,
all right.
So he's so physical too. A big part of his game is the movement. And so to have I think he's a guy that's only going to go out there, when his knee is 100% and healed, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
I know one thing, that your little crutch behind you, he's going to be needing that for a day or 2 after that surgery. So you could probably lend it to him, although you're a little bit taller. All right, so let's get to, one of the great stories, though, is Jannik Sinner has been the best player this year. Without question, he has won the Australian Open. He's won multiple tournaments coming into this event in the second Grand Slam of the year. Arguably the best player this year, deservedly gets the number 1 ranking. Sadly, Novak wasn't able to at least get to the final or keep that number 1 ranking with all the points that he has coming off from now until the end of the year. But Jannik's been fantastic, but also has Carlos Alcaraz. Just give me your thoughts on who you think is going to win this match.
Yeah, Sinner, even going back to last year, winning Vienna, and then winning the Davis Cup, finals of the year end, winning Australia, winning Miami. He's been on an incredible run now. It's well-deserved, this number 1 ranking. Even if Novak didn't pull out here, I think Sinner was going to hit that number 1 ranking spot at some point this year, and Alcaraz is right on his heels. And they're kind of they're the Federer Nadal of 10 years ago. And so it's a shame they have to play each other. They're on the same side of the draw, as we had talked about earlier. I think everyone kind of wants that as a finals matchup at every tournament, but it's going to be a fun match. It's going to be something that everyone's excited to watch. And I think Sinner, knowing he's number 1 in the world, it kind of gives him a little extra confidence on the back end of this French Open, and I'm picking him to win it at this point.
Wow, yeah. I don't know who's going to win between the two of them. They both play so well against one another. It is arguably the best matchup. It is, without question, these two are the big two now. They've taken over from the big three. Obviously, Novak is still there, but this is the next generation of Roger, Rafa, and Novak. I don't know. I would say that Carlos is slightly more comfortable on clay than Jannik. Jannik likes it fast, so I think it's dependent also on the temperature. I mean, Andy Roddick said it last week that the French Open is probably the one tournament that is really subject to the weather. If it's hot and bouncy, that will help Jannik a little bit, make the court quicker. But also the spin on the ball and the velocity of the spin of Alcaraz's shots will also be helped with the hot weather. So it's kind of like a pick 'em. Look at their matchups against one another. 4-4. Who's going to be the one that breaks the drought and maybe takes over and gets to the final and wins the French Open? So much on the line between these two guys. And as you said, Sam, they're two great guys. These two, they're just so great for the game of tennis. I'm so excited for the next 10 years of men's tennis.
This is much watch TV. When these two are matched up, wherever I am in the world, I look like what time are they playing, and I set the alarm to watch it because it's like I said, it's Federer and Nadal from 10 years ago. So it's going to be, hopefully they have a great match and they kind of entertain the crowd and everyone watching.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping they both get through injury-free and they, as you said, have a great match. And I suspect if they're injury-free, they will. All right, Sam. So, of course, the other semi-final, certainly not being talked about as much as Alcaraz Sinner, which is understandable in a lot of ways, is, of course, now Casper Ruud, who got the default over Novak Djokovic, going up against Alexander Zverev, who just also had a great win over Alex de Minaur in straight sets. But boy, oh boy, it was pretty complicated. Even though it was straight sets for Zverev, it was very complicated, that match. It could have been a lot more difficult if poor old Alex de Minaur had won that second set. But just give me your whole thoughts on that on that quarterfinal.
Yeah, like you said, it was 3 difficult sets. As well as de Minaur played, you never really felt like he was going to win the match. You felt like he was doing everything he could to like get really close. Like you said, he needed that second set. He was in that set point. I think he got a little tentative there. He definitely needed that. And then in the end, did a good job of breaking Zverev when Zverev was serving forward. Zverev, as tough as he's playing and as great as he's playing right now, broke right back. But now we've got Zverev against Casper Ruud, and that's going to be another great semifinal along with Alcaraz Sinner. And the Ruud Zverev is a little bit of a toss-up to me. I think I'm going Casper just because he's going to have 4 days off now, and Zverev's played a lot of matches, had a lot of time on court. So I'm gonna go a Ruud kind of 65-35 there for percentage-wise.
Yeah, so I have a question on that. I mean, I don't know if you've had a situation where you've been at a Grand Slam, you've got best of 5, it's a brutal struggle, that Ruud's going to come out banging forehands, looking for the forehand, all of the things. But tell me from your perspective as like a best of 5 situation, Casper hasn't played in like 4 days essentially. For him to go up now and play a guy that's gotten through a lot of tough matches, and I don't know what it is Zverev, he plays unbelievably long matches. Look at the Australian Open. He got through some really long matches there. But not does it help, but does it hurt in some respects as well that Ruud hasn't played a match in 4 days? So do you lose your match prep, your match, give me a little bit of what you think about that.
Right. I think it's a little bit of sorry, 1 second. Ruby.
I like this. Your dog.
You got a dog in here.
Leave that on, please.
Yeah, leave that on. It's going to be 4 days off. I don't think that's enough time for him to get rusty. I think he would have signed up for that before the tournament started. I think the 4 days is a short enough time where he's still going to be confident coming off 3 prior matches. He's been to the finals here twice before, so it's nothing new. So I think for Casper, he's going to go into this match literally feeling 100%, and I expect him to have zero rust. I expect him to come out firing from the first shot. And Zverev, like you said, he's played a lot of long matches in his career. He's extremely fit. I don't think the fact that he's gone 5-setter is going to make that much of a difference, unless they do go 5 sets themselves. But I expect Zverev to come out and be ready to go as well in 2 days' time.
Well, I picked Zverev. I didn't know what was going to happen to Novak. Clearly, none of us knew that he would pull out in the quarterfinals. That's just unheard of for him. So he's obviously very injured. But I did pick Zverev to make the finals. I don't think he's going to win the tournament. I think he gets too tight. We saw it even when he served for the match against Alex de Minaur. He didn't close out the game. And those are sort of the games you expect someone who wants to win the tournament, close those games out, even though he broke. But you have to think that Casper, with the days off, with having thrashed Zverev last year, I think Zverev is a better player this year. He comes in with tons of confidence after winning in Rome. And the matchup, it'll be interesting. I think as Zverev serves really well, he has a chance. But you have to think with the rest, with Casper's... Also, let's not forget about Casper Ruud. I mean, this guy's been the perennial runner-up, really. I mean, Novak, Rafa, without them, he wins a French Open. He probably thinks this is his best chance to do it, this year, having had the opportunity to have the rest day against Novak and going up against Zverev, who he has a great record against, clearly on clay. So, look, the bottom line is, you don't know. We throw the balls in the air. We let them play. And that's the best thing about the French Open this year. It's been very unexpected. Look at the women's, some of the surprises there, but certainly with the men's. Probably what we expected in some ways, other than Novak. But Ruud being there is no surprise because he's been so good in Roland Garros. So, you gave me your prediction, but give me your prediction for the final on what you think we're going to see in the men's.
Yeah, so I'm going to take Casper over Zverev. I think too. Casper is a clay quarter, like you said. He's made 2 finals before. He's loving this. On the other side, I'm going to go with Sinner over Alcaraz, and then the more that I think about it here, I'm going to go with Casper Ruud in the for the title. You know what? He's like you said. I think he looks at this draw and kind of says like, okay, maybe this is the time when I can win it. I've made 2 finals. I've lost to Novak. I've lost to Rafa. Those guys aren't here. This is my time. He's kind of quietly going through the draw, I guess you would say. Not a lot of people are talking about him. They're talking about Sinner and Alcaraz and Zverev. So I think he's just going to kind of go under the radar. He's winning matches relatively easily. And this is his tournament to win.
I like it, Sam. You always go for the random stuff and you throw it out there, and I appreciate it. Listen, you're not wrong, but the bottom line is if he does win against Zverev, hottest player coming into the tournament, he has to play against the 2 hottest players over the last, year and a half, let's say, other than Novak. So if he's going to win it, he's going to have to do it the hard way. There's no doubt about that, and he certainly will earn his French Open title. Anyway,
that's for sure.
We can't wait for it. It's going to be great semifinals. All right, let's get to the ladies. It's time to talk about them. What we saw today was pretty extraordinary from the upset cut. This is not what we thought. But before we get to that, let's preview the number 1 player in the world, the most dominant player at this tournament over the last several years, Iga Swiatek, going up against Coco Gauff. They've played each other a couple of times here at the French, but and the head-to-heads certainly are very favorable for Iga Swiatek. But Coco, having won a Grand Slam now, she knows what it takes. Just who wins here, Sammy?
It's Iga. I mean, I hope Coco can pull the upset. It's so hard to go against Iga right now. She's so dominant, not only on clay, but against Coco as well. We see there she's 10-1 overall, 4-0 on clay. And as in the top half, it's kind of like we've got 2 heavy hitters on the top half of the women's draw, and 2 somewhat unknown girls on the bottom half. So I think a lot of people are almost looking at this matchup as the final. Whoever wins this will be a pretty heavy favorite in the final. But I got to go with Iga here. She's just too dominant, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, look, I think that as it was against Osaka has the ability to really hit anyone off the court. Coco doesn't quite have that ability on the forehand, certainly on the backhand. She has arguably the best backhand in women's tennis. But I think the matchup is the issue here. Iga loves to hit the forehand cross court and heavy and deep, and that goes into the weaker side of Coco. Coco eventually gets one a bit short, and then Iga takes control of the point again. So this is a little bit more about, Coco's going to have to serve at her best. She's going to have a high percentage of first serves in. Her second serve will get punished big time by Iga, and that's part of the issue as well. On the clay, it sits up for Iga to do a little bit more with it, whereas opposed on hard court, her ball stays a bit lower. Gives Iga a few more issues on the forehand, but overall on the clay, I just think Iga Swiatek is by far the favorite. Having said that, there's no one greater at trying to win a match no matter what is happening in front of her than Coco Gauff. It was not pretty in her match in the quarterfinals. She lost the first set. She bounced back. She just hangs in there. There's no one that has a better fighting spirit than her. Although you'd have to say Sabalenka today had some fighting spirits. Just your thoughts on also what we saw. Mirra Andreeva. I mean, this teenager, we've been talking about her on the women's tour now for a couple of years. I remember her playing Coco Gauff. It might have been last year. She won the first set. And she lost her flipping mind in the first game of the second set. And I was like, what are you doing? You were in control of the match. And that was just her youth, of being 16 years of age. She lost 1 point. She threw a racket on the ground. I was like, oh my God, as a coach, you'd be like, pick your racket up, pick your racket up. You're up a set. What are you doing? And I think she won one game after that against Coco. But to see her maturity of handling this moment today against Sabalenka and getting through a couple of tough matches of late, this kid is going to be, without question, punching finals of Grand Slams for a long time to come. And we saw her get through a really tough match today against Sabalenka, who was clearly feeling not well.
Yeah, and that match here, I think we're just waiting for Andreeva to make a run, and here it is. And I was actually at rehab for my knee, so I missed the first set, missed part of the second set. By the time I came back and turned it on, saw that Sabalenka was kind of injured. And sometimes it's tough to play against an opponent like that. So Andreeva, the match there, when I turned it on in the third set, it was a back and forth. You'd see Andreeva getting frustrated, then it would go to Sabalenka getting frustrated, then back to Andreeva getting frustrated. But in the end, Andreeva did a great job of staying focused, kind of getting through the mental battle of playing someone who's partially injured. And that last game at 4-5, she did a great job of kind of hanging in there, forcing some errors from Sabalenka, and then on match point, guessing right and just feeling a perfect backhand lob over Sabalenka's backhand side. And so it was an exciting day for her, an exciting match, a great fight from Sabalenka. We know she was injured a little bit. But all in all, that was great drama.
Yeah, I mean, I think you put it beautifully. In the last game, when you were getting so close to beating someone as the biggest win of her career to make the semifinals of her first Grand Slam, I think it helps to have someone like Conchita Martinez, who's been there herself many times, who's now coaching her, has been coaching her for the last couple of months. We don't give enough credit to, what Conchita's been able to do with her to calm her down, to teach her the ropes a little bit. The mum left, at the end of the second set. So there was a lot going on. But the fact that she was able to calm herself and not get overawed by the situation, knowing that Sabalenka was certainly struggling. You can see that. But as an opponent, you're seeing down the other end, you're like, oh my God, is she sick? Is she going to pull out? There's all these things going through your head. So for someone so young to be able to not let that affect her and actually get the job done was so impressive. Flip it to Paolini, who is my favorite player. I love her so much. Every time I see her on the tour, I'm like, Jasmine, I love you. You're my favorite player. And she always laughs at me. And I go, I'm serious. I've watched her for years, Sam. I watched her in small tournaments in Europe, playing on the clay. And I'm like, who is this kid? She's so good, but she's like this big. So I'm like, for her to match up against someone like Rybakina in that moment and hit with her aggressively on the baseline, and also to be able to handle the pro shot where she was up a set and a break twice in the second set, 4-3, 40-15 on serve, lost the game and lost the set. To be able to come back and bounce back and not give anything free away in the third set against someone like Rybakina, who in the end made her own errors to lose that match. So I'm so bloody impressed by this young Italian at 20. I think she's 28 years of age. She's been around a while. To get through that match was awesome. I mean, it's going to be so interesting to see two players that probably never expected to be there. I think Andreeva, we all expect to be there eventually, but to get there now, to play against Paolini, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, because they would not have expected to play each other in the semis to make their first final.
I haven't watched a ton of her matches, but watching it today, she's so fun to watch. She's like a little ball of bubbly energy. She's kind of built like Sakari, but just with a bigger smile almost. Yeah. So I think if you have not watched tennis and you turn that match on today and watch Jasmine play, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this girl is so fun to watch. She's got such great energy. And like you said, to lose that second set and then come back against Rybakina and win the third was really impressive for a girl that hasn't been in this position before. I was really impressed with kind of her mental fortitude coming back in that third set and getting the win.
Yeah, I mean, I just love her. So I was so excited. Even when she was choking, she was looking up literally all the time and just laughing at her crew. And I want to give a shout out to her coach, who has been with her for, it feels like, forever. And as you and I know, when players aren't having success, they certainly get rid of their coaches too quickly sometimes. And these two have developed such a great relationship that she's able to look up at him and smile. And he's not like, concentrate. He knows her. And so for me, that's a beautiful story as well of two people that have stuck in there with each other and they've achieved what they've achieved today. Sam, what do you think about Ons Jabeur calling out the Roland Garros scheduling a little bit? What are your thoughts on that? I know I have mine. Certainly if you follow me on Twitter, you know.
Yeah, the scheduling is tough, and I'm not going to kind of single out the French Open. I can't stand it when tennis matches go to 12, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We're seeing them going to 3 a.m. I don't exactly know what the solution is. I know they're going to go late at times, but I just feel like people don't want to be out and about at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night watching tennis. So I wish they would start these matches a little earlier or come up with a solution to kind of, I don't know, maybe play half the match and we got a hard cutoff time at midnight. But they do need to figure out something because I'm not a fan of these matches going so late into the night. It's just bad for the players, bad for the fans. And, they need to do something about it. And like I said, not just the French Open, all these tournaments.
I agree. And having 2 matches starting at 7:00 with the men's and the women's, whoever plays that second match is getting absolutely screwed every single time. And people are like, why do they let it happen? I'm like, well, you don't, and you cannot predict the amount of time someone takes to win a match, right? So a match could be an hour or it could be 3.5 hours if it's a women's match. And then the guys are going on at 11 o'clock at night playing best of 5. The men could go best of 5. The women are getting on at midnight. It's just ridiculous. So we have to figure out a way to make it quicker. I don't know. I've always been a proponent also to maybe make the men's best of 3, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I'd be fine with best of 3. I mean, I don't even play anymore, but when I was playing, I would have loved slams to be best of 3.
Hey, that's what the Olympics do. And we see the drama there. We see 1917 or 1715 in the third. I'm all for playing out the third set, no problem. So I think there's ways we can get around it. But starting a men's match at 8:30 on clay, best of 5, is really a dumb idea. That's what I'm going to say. So if you're going to
totally in agreement, and I think we're with the majority here. I don't think anyone wants this. So it'd be great. Look, they're not going to make a change this year, but the next Grand Slam, Wimbledon doesn't have night matches. I hope the U.S. Open, maybe they'll be the first one to say, hey, we're going to start our night session at 6 p.m. or we're going to have a hard cutoff at midnight. Or I'd be up for a tournament or a slam trying something. And if it doesn't work, go back. But these late matches are ridiculous.
I'm with you. And you know what? As someone who covers these matches often courtside, and I'm sitting there at 1:30, 2:30 in the morning, I'm like, really? Do we really have people watching? So that's another thing.
We don't feel bad for you courtside. We're feeling bad for the players and the fans.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you, Sam. Thanks for that. Thanks for dropping the on me. All right. So bottom line is, I'm going to ask you real quick, with what you've seen so far at the French, who's winning Wimbledon?
Who's winning Wimbledon? I'm going to go with kind of like, I'm not going to give you one guess, but I'm going to say it's going to be someone like a Taylor Fritz or Demonau or, one of these guys that's like ranked between like 8 and 15 on the men's side. And on the women's side, I'm going to go with Sabalenka. I think just how hard she hits the ball, it's just going to just fly through the grass. And so I'm going to take her on the grass. But the men, I think we're going to see kind of someone that's unassuming win their first Grand Slam.
Okay, our producer just texted on our chat that you're drunk picking one of those guys. But it's okay, because if you're right, we get to give it to her. And Alexa, it's going to be like, I'm sorry, Sam, you were right. My prediction is Sinner. I think he wins Wimbledon. And if he does and wins the French, whoa, look out, because he's my favorite to win the US Open, because I think he's so good on that surface. And I think Rybakina is going to win Wimbledon again. But we don't know, because Sabalenka could come good. Iga's not super comfortable on grass. Ons Jabeur's been in the final a couple of times, so we don't know. So my 2 picks are Rybakina and Jannik Sinner, but we'll see. All right, guys. Well, we did a question for you in the last show with the one and only Andy Roddick. Chris Evert, Steffi Graf, Justine Henin, Monica Seles, or Iga Swiatek. Which one of these women has to win a match for you to save your life on clay? Who are you picking? We got a lot of great responses.
We did.
And a lot of people really loved Steffi. Fräulein, forehand, Steffi Graf, Steffi anywhere against any woman that has ever played the game. Steffi. There was also, I don't know, you take some here, Sammy.
Good, because I also wanted Steffi. I mean, I would have taken them all, but like Steffi was my pick too. But, and like we said here we got kids too young to remember Chrissy Evert on clay. And that was like me. Chrissy was so dominant on clay, and kind of the current generation doesn't know that. She, maybe didn't have as many French Opens as Nadal, but her record on clay, and especially at the French Open, was one that could never be broken on the women's side of the game.
125 consecutive matches on clay. Are you kidding me?
It will never be broken. It's safe to say it'll never be broken.
That's insane. Oh God. So yes, a lot of Steffi, a lot of Chris Evert. There was a lot of Monica Seles as well before, sadly what happened to her in Hamburg, Germany. But Monica was, to me, probably the toughest player I ever saw play at the French Open. And the 1992 final with Steffi Graf was unbelievable, which Monica won. So listen, bottom line is, I don't think you can go wrong with picking any of those people.
All five were fantastic.
Exactly. I'll take Rafa in the men's and any of those ladies on the clay in Paris. All right. So the next segment, okay, for next week's question is, we're going to do it right now. Which tennis content are you most excited about? Roger Federer's docuseries, Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf's movie, or Serena Williams docuseries? Tweet your answer to us, of course, always at NBC Sports. Tag me and Sam in there as well. Well, Sam, you're not on Twitter, so don't worry about you. But I am. So, I'll retweet it. But bottom line is, which tennis content are you most excited about with Roger, Andre, Steffi, and of course, Serena's docuseries coming out? We can't wait to hear your answers. Thanks for joining us once again today. Thank you again, of course, to the one and only great Lindsey Vonn and everyone for joining us on the French Connection, brought to you by NBC Sports and Racket. The next episode is out Friday, June 7th. We look ahead to the finals, of course, at Roland Garros. See you then. Sam, thanks for joining me again today, and take it easy on the old crutch there.
Well, I used to have 2 crutches. I'm down to 1 crutch. Next week, it'll be no crutch.
All right. We're going to see Sam with no crutches by the end of this French Connection. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Sam, good luck with your Achilles.
Thank you. Only 6 more months.
6 more months.
I'll let him know.
6 more months before he's back to pickleballing.